So it is such a pleasure having you here, Dexter.
Thank
And
you.
it's an honor and a joy. You're welcome being your mom and, just seeing your growth and your development, your love and passion for the human family all over the globe, your humanitarian work as well. I appreciate you for that. And we'll get into that a little later, but let's dive right into the topic. We are witnessing a global like experience that I never seen in my lifetime. Can you explain to us what's going on? And I mean, like, how should we be feeling? What should we do at this point? So I'm just going to be quiet and turn over to you. I'm going to put you on the screen by yourself just for a minute and I'll come back on. But I want you to share with the audience your thoughts about what's going on.
Okay, so a brief overview of what's going on right now. The U.S. government currently is in $38 trillion in debt. We also have corporate debt, which is separate from the government debt, which is about $15 trillion. We have civil debt, which is credit cards, for example. We have over $1 trillion in credit card debt. So when we look in total, we're over $50 trillion in debt, right? So that obviously causes a lot of issues. We generate as a country $5 trillion in taxes, but we spend as a country $7 trillion. So we have a $2 trillion deficit, which we have to borrow. Our expenses right now in the country per year, we have healthcare, which is about $2.5 trillion. We have Social Security, about $1.5 trillion. We have interest on debt, which is another $1 trillion. And then we have defense, which is $1 trillion. So those are just the major things that we're spending our money on.
Okay.
And at some point, you do have to pay your debts, right? America is a debt society, right? So our system is not very productive, I would say. We don't produce goods and services in an abundance here as we used to several decades ago. And so that has led to where we are today, along with the fact that we went away with the gold standard, right? So now we're looking at, initially when the country was founded, gold was about $20 an ounce.
Okay.
So we had a fixed rate of $20 an ounce for over a period of about 150 years, right? From 1792 up until about the 1900s, around 1934, right? Obviously a lot of the wars that we have fought over the years are very costly.
Right.
But the reality is this is the way that America was able to become the superpower that it is today, is by having military dominance. But the problem with that as an empire is, how far do you stretch before it becomes too much and before the cost becomes too much? And America has found out what its limits are. And now we are at the point of contracting, right? So America overreached its bounds in terms of trying to dominate the world, right? We recently, a few years ago, obviously lost the war in Afghanistan after 20 years of fighting there. That was very costly, but it also was a trigger to the world to allow for the rest of the world to know that America is losing its power, right? Immediately following that, we had the war in Ukraine to start, right? Where this is a war where the US and NATO, which would be the European powers, came together to try to fight against Russia. America does not like the idea of there being any other superpower in the world.
Absolutely not.
And so when we actually gained our status as superpower after World War II, right?
Okay.
We supposedly won the war. We were the ones who determined the outcome of World War II. So then when the European colonial powers, being France, Britain, all of these countries, they had to pretty much concede to America as the #1 dominant superpower of the world. Immediately following that, after World War II, America said, well, Russia, which actually was an ally of America during the war, became enemy #1, right? That's when we went to the Cold War. Obviously, again, wars cost money, but America said, we'll just print money, right? We went off the gold standard and we just decided to print money without actually having it being backed by anything.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we're not backed by gold, or for the time that we weren't backed by gold, the other countries of the world began to question what the US dollar was backed by. If not gold, then what?
Right.
So then we look more recently, we fast forward into the time period of BRICS, right? BRICS, you've talked about this many times, what BRICS is, but BRICS would be Brazil, Russia, China, and India, China, and South Africa. Initially, I want to say it was an economist in the early 2000s, an American economist, who wrote up a piece just describing the fact that these 4 countries at the time, it was BRIC, it was Brazil, Russia, India, China. They said these 4 economies, if they come together, they form a bigger economy than America and its allies. And so,
Right.
go ahead. Were you?
I was just saying, right. No, I agree.
And so these countries obviously got wind of this. They said, that's a great idea. And so they formed BRICS in 2013, I believe. Since then, BRICS and the rest of the world have been accumulating gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
Since America became the superpower, they told all countries, in order to have a reserve account, a bank account, an international bank account, that you had to use the US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the US dollar was the trade dollar for the world. Right. So over the past several decades, for example, China and Japan, if they wanted to do business amongst each other, they could not use their own currency. They had to use the US dollar. Right. So these countries, BRICS and other countries, have been finding new ways to circumvent the dollar. Right. So when America has other countries using its dollar, it makes the US dollar the strongest dollar in the world.
And
right?
so that what made us a superpower?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The money and the military made us a superpower.
Okay.
Right. We told other countries, you have to use our dollar.
Right. Okay.
And countries found out, it's either that or else. They found out the or else part. That's where a lot of wars happen. Russia, during the Cold War, Russia was the alternative to America. So this is when many countries around the world became communist, right? Socialist countries like Cuba, Venezuela, a lot of African countries, and a lot of the Asian countries.
Okay.
Once the Soviet Union collapsed, right, there was the Soviet Union at the time. In 1991 with the Berlin Wall, when the Berlin Wall fell, America was the only superpower, right? So it was able to enforce its will on all of these other countries. This would be why in the 1990s we had this robust era, right? A very good financial decade. But of course, problems caught up with America by 2000, right? And we had the dot-com bust, right? We had a lot of financial issues, and really America's financial house has not been in order for the last 25 years. There's a concept in economics called kick the can down the road.
I was just about to ask you about that because I remember you talking about that in your early years of college. Yes.
Yeah, when I was in college and I was reading about different financial issues, it uh, a lot of times they would say in the books, they would say, well, we'll just pass these problems off to our children and our grandchildren.
Oh my
Don't
God.
worry about the problems, just let them worry about it.
Mm,
Well, we are the children and grandchildren who have to worry about those problems, right?
mm,
And so now we're looking at, we have a homeless rate that is hasn't been as in my lifetime. I haven't seen a homeless rate at this proportion. We have people living in their cars. We
mm-hmm.
have businesses shutting down, jobs being cut. In this year alone, we've had over 1 million job cuts. Right. Again, I mentioned that America is no longer a productive country. We don't produce goods and services. We are now a financial uh, economy.
And you
We
told me
have
we're consumers, but go ahead.
absolutely. We
Mm,
are 100% consumers, but we don't produce anything. Right.
mm,
During our times of prosperity,
mm,
America shipped the factories abroad. Right,
mm,
for a few reasons. One being for cost cutting reasons, also being because when you're an empire, you don't want to do things. You want other people to do things for you.
right.
Right. So America consumed everything and everybody in the world fronted the bill. Right.
Mm,
Everybody in the world paid for America's consumption. But now the day of reckoning is upon us.
mm.